Om Namah Paramarishibhyo Namah Paramarishibhyah. Om Namah Sarva Vedanta Vedyaya Paramatmane Vedebhyo Vedadarshibhyo Maharshibhyo Namo Namaha. Ram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vighnopashantaye Yasya Dvirada Vaktradya Parishadya Parasatam Vignam Nignanti Satatam Vishwaksenantamashraye Vyasam Vasishthanaptaram Sekte Pautramakalmasham Parasharatmajam Vande Shukatatantaponidhim Nigamakalpatarorgalitam Phalam Sukhamukhat Amrutadravasamyutam पिबत भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिका भुवि भावुका यं प्रव्रजन्तमनुपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरहकातर आजुहावा पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुः तं सर्वभूतहृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्. Om Asmat Gurubhyo Namaha. Jai Sriman Narayana. As part of this series, we are trying to understand how the various names of Brahman that are declared in the Upanishads are associated with Sri Krishnavataram. As part of one of the slokas that we just recited in the beginning prayers of Bhagavatam, we find a particular sloka called Nigama Kalpataror Galitam Phalam. That Bhagavatam is Galitam Phalam. That means it is a fully mature or ripened fruit of the Kalpataru or the desire tree of Nigama, Vedas. That means, like we discussed, it is an explanation according to certain sampradayas. The Bhagavatam is itself an explanation to Brahma Sutras. So they did not feel like they had to write another commentary to the Brahma Sutras. Normally, what is important for every school of philosophy is that they have to present a commentary to the Brahma Sutras to establish their own line of thought, their own school of thought. But they felt that the Bhagavatam that has been compiled by Vyasa is a natural commentary to the Vedanta Sutras, because right here we find evidence for this kind of thought process, because it says Nigama Kalpataror Galitam Phalam. Bhagavatam is a Kalpataru. It is a Kalpataru or a desire tree, because while Bhagavatam had been written by Vyasa primarily for the sake of mumukshus, Bhagavatam also satisfies all other desires that anybody else has, even a mumukshu or a normal practitioner of dharma has. So Bhagavatam is just like the Veda in a certain sense, because Veda is a Kalpataru. Because Veda, like an example that we discussed yesterday, like it is like a store where you have everything for different kinds of mindsets, for different kinds of people. Similarly, even Bhagavatam has different phalastutis. After each pastime is described, there are also various phalastutis that are told that if you recite this particular chapter every day, just like we are all aware of the powers and glories of Sundarakanda, right? Different chapters of Sundarakanda offer various benefits in terms of our health, our, various things actually. Similarly, even Bhagavatam's different chapters and different pastimes have different benefits associated with it. Therefore, Bhagavatam is also a Kalpataru. So what is being told here is Nigama Kalpataror Galitam Phalam. This Bhagavatam is a fully ripened fruit of the Vedas. Sukhamukhat Amrutadrava Samyutam. So this is basically coming from the mouth of Sukha. Sukha normally means a parrot. So it is generally believed that when a parrot bites a particular fruit, that fruit becomes extra sweet, right? So Bhagavatam coming from the mouth of Sukha Maharshi, by itself Bhagavatam is already a ripened fruit, right? An unripened fruit is generally sour in nature, but a ripened fruit is very sweet in nature. So Bhagavatam, on top of that, it is something that is coming from the mouth of Sukha Maharshi. Therefore, it is extra sweet. Pibata Bhagavatam Rasam, again, it is told that there is this Bhagavatam is about a tatwa called rasa. Generally, the normal commentary to this is Pibata Bhagavatam Rasam. Like yesterday, some of you said, Pibare Rama Rasam. So generally people feel like the rasam here means it's a drink that has to be drunk, right? That commentary is also there. It is not that it is not there. But then that Bhagavatam is also talking about this particular tatwa called rasam. And until what point or how frequently should one drink this? Alayam means until the end of one's life, one has to continue to drink this rasam, or one has to continue to experience the glories of this tatwa called rasam. So yesterday we were discussing this particular topic called rasam, right? And we said that the nature of the supreme being is such that, what exactly is rasa? Rasa is something that absorbs us into it completely and makes us forget our own identity or whatever current situations are, current circumstances are. It makes us completely absorb into that particular thing. So that is what rasa is. So there is an interesting pastime that we find in the Krishnavataram. This is when Krishna is brought forth to the city of Mathura, right? Kamsa finally, after hearing the news, every day Kamsa keeps getting an update that whatever demon is sent to that particular town, every demon is getting killed. So finally, it doesn't take too long for Kamsa to figure out that this person is likely the person that I'm looking for, right? So Kamsa decided to, invite Krishna to Mathura. So what he did was, he sent Akrura, and then Akrura took Krishna and he brought him to Mathura. So as soon as Krishna entered Mathura, he encountered certain instances where, there was, a kubja, or someone who was bent in different places. There was a malakara, whom also Krishna encountered. And there was this elephant called Kuvalaya Pida, right? So what Krishna did here was he also fought with this elephant, because this elephant was a mad elephant, and there was also a Mavat who was trying to kill Krishna even before he entered the arena, right? An entire arena was arranged. It was very beautifully decorated for Krishna to be received. Just like before a particular animal is sacrificed, it is very beautifully decorated. Kamsa had in his mind that he was determined that today is supposed to be Krishna's last day. And with that intent, Kamsa tried to invite, although with all suspicion in his heart, whether this person can really be killed, because a little bit of intelligence is sufficient to understand that if there is someone who has killed these many demons single-handedly, and if it's only a child, it doesn't take too much for him to even come and kill Kamsa. But Kamsa somehow, his fear of death was so much that it has clouded his intelligence. So what he thought was he could invite him into a fight with certain mighty fighters, right? Mallas. And he thought that he could actually put an end to Krishna, right? So here is where we find a beautiful sloka here, right? So Krishna finally, when this Kuvalaya Pida was sent over Krishna, Krishna fought with that elephant. That elephant, being a mad elephant, it tried to stamp over Krishna and tried to, kill Krishna via stampede. But then Krishna being Krishna, right, he could easily defeat this elephant too. It was not even a thing for him. He broke its tusk, and then finally he wore that tusk as a locket in his neck, and then he entered the arena with a little bit of sweat on him. So it gave him a very valorous look as he even tried to enter the arena, right? And once Krishna entered the arena, right, here is where in this particular context, a very beautiful sloka is compiled by Vyasa. He says, this appears in the 43rd chapter of the Dasamaskandha, the 17th sloka. Mallanam ashanir, nrinam naravaraha, strinam smaro murtiman, gopanam svajano, asatam kshitibhujam, shasta, swapitroho shishuhu, mrityur bhojapate, virad avidusham tatvam param yoginam, vrishninam paradevateti vidito, rangam gataha sagrajaha. So, rangam gataha, he entered the arena. Sa Agrajaha, along with his brother Balarama. How did he appear to different people? Depending upon their mentality, each of them, it is described by Vyasa that each of them was absorbed in Krishna. They forgot everything else, but they were absorbed in Krishna in a certain mood, right? Mallanam Ashanir. So for the Mallas, right, the fighters who were about to fight Krishna, there were about 5 or 6 of them that Kamsa had arranged, right? And Krishna was supposed to fight with Chanura and Balarama was supposed to fight with Mushtika. So, and the fight actually started, right? They started holding each other's arms and then pressing each other's legs, and then they started fighting with each other. So at this point, Mallanam Ashanihi, as Krishna was giving blows to this Mallas, right? Imagine Krishna is just a tender child of probably around 7 years of age, right? But then these Mallas are, huge and hefty personalities, probably, maybe 8-footers or something like that, with very heavy bodies and, someone who has done a lot of weightlifting and so on, right? So how would that scene even appear, that a tender child is actually fighting one-on-one with someone very, very strong and powerful, right? But then when Krishna actually tried to punch the Malla, he felt as if thunder had struck him, right? Mallanam Ashanihi, right? With his fist and legs, he was trying to, fight this Malla. He felt as if thunders were falling on him, right? That is the mood in which he was actually absorbed in Krishna, right? His focus was on Krishna, obviously, because he was the person. He really thought that he could just take this child and put him over and then throw him down and then it'll be done, right? And then they count 1, 2, 3, and then finally he'll be declared as victorious, right? It wasn't as simple as that. This person gave a very good fight that Chanura and Mushtika also with Balarama, they couldn't put up with Krishna and Balarama. So to them, he appeared just like a thunder, right? Nrinam Naravaraha. For the men of the city, he appeared to be the best man, right? Naravaraha, the best of the men, right? There are some beautiful slokas here. Nirikshatau Uttama Purusha Jana. So it is told that Manchasthita Nagara Rashtraka Nripa Praharsha Vego Kalitekshananana Papurna Trupta Nayanaistadananam. So their eyes were filled with the vision of Krishna that they couldn't take their eyes away from Krishna even for a moment. He was appearing so beautiful and so best in every sense that they couldn't take their eyes off of Krishna. Their vision was completely filled with Krishna and they were not satiated. That means it was not like, oh, fine, there is something more interesting, so therefore I'll turn my vision to that. So the more they looked, the more they wanted to look at Krishna, right? It is also described, Vichitra Veshabharana Sragambaro Yatha Natau Uttama Veshadharino Manakshipanto Prabhaya Nirikshatam. With their effulgences, the charm that Krishna and Balarama carried, they overpowered the minds of these onlookers, right? So in this way, Nrinam Naravaraha, so all the men of the place, they were all completely transfixed on Krishna in this particular way, right? Further things are described about how they were actually feeling when they were looking at Krishna. Pibanta eva chakshurbhyam, lihanta eva jihvaya, jigranta eva nasabhyam, slishyanta eva bahubihi, uchu parasparam tevai yathadrishtam yathasrutam, tadrupa guna madhurya, pragalbhya smarita eva. So what is being told is that Pibanta eva chakshurbhyam, they wanted to drink Krishna with their eyes. With that mood, they were actually looking at Krishna. Lihanta eva jihvaya, Krishna appeared so tasty to them that they wanted to taste him with their tongues. Jigranta eva nasabhyam, they wanted to smell him with their nose. Slishyanta eva bahubihi, they wanted to embrace Krishna completely with their arms. Uchu parasparam tevai, whatever feelings they were experiencing, naturally people tend to share with each other, right? Generally, when men get together, they discuss about some sports or something like that, right? Or some politics or whatever is happening in the news and so on. So even here, uchu parasparam tevai, they were trying to describe to each other what they had seen. Have you just seen how beautifully this person has killed that elephant Kuvalayapida? It's a huge elephant. How this person must have done it? And this way they were going on describing to each other about Krishna. In this way they were absorbed in Krishna. Tad rupa guna madhurya yathadrishtam yathasrutam. Whatever they were seeing, they're just describing to each other, right? They were describing about his form, tad rupa, tad guna, his character, his qualities, madhurya, the sweetness with which he was doing it, right? Generally in movies we see when a hero attacks someone, there are some special effects, right? It's not like just you give a punch and you fight and it's done, right? All kinds of special effects are shown, right? The person has to roll like this and fall, or this person jumps from here to here. So all these things are done in a very sweet way that will make the hero really attractive to everybody. It will make the hero stand out. So all of that is coming from Krishnavataram, right? So Vyasa had already done that in Bhagavatam. So Madhurya, Pragalbhya, Smarita Iva, they were constantly reminding each other of his bravery, the courage with which Krishna handled the whole situation. In this way, the men were absorbed, right? Now he's describing how the women were absorbed, right? Strinam smaro murtiman. For the women in the town, he appeared like Cupid personified. He was so cute, he was so charming that they were just falling for him. He was a handsome young man, right? And, very beautifully, there is another sloka that describes how the gopikas were absorbed in him, right? In the same context. Yo dohane, while milking the cows, avahanane, while threshing the grain, right? Mathana, while churning the butter, upalepa, while, smearing different things, while gathering cow dung for fuel, right? Prenka inkana, while they were swinging on different swings, right? Arbharudita, while taking care of their crying babies. Ukshana, sprinkling the ground with water and so on, right? Marjana, while cleaning their houses. Adau, gayanti chenam anurakta dhiyo ashrukanthyo. So constantly they were singing about Krishna's glories. Whatever activities they were doing, while milking, while churning butter, while smearing different things, while playing on swings, while putting their children to sleep, while cleaning their house, while sprinkling water on the ground, cleaning it with cow dung and all of these things, their thoughts were completely absorbed in Krishna. Constantly they were thinking about Krishna. Right? Gayanti cha enam anurakta dhiyo. Their mind was so much absorbed in Krishna. Ashrukanthyo. It's not that they were just randomly singing a song. Ashrukanthyo means their eyes were filled with tears and their throat was getting choked as they were thinking about Krishna and his pastimes. Right? Every day they had some pastime that they could sing about. Krishna did this one thing. Right? Generally in villages we find, right, these folk songs and so on, generally compiled. They say one line and they say something tandanana or something like this, right? Similarly, they were going on singing about Krishna. Dhyana vrajastriyaha urukrama chitta yanaha. In this way, the vrajastriyaha, the ladies of Brajabhumi, they were completely meditating on him. But here, these ladies, they felt he is so cute and Cupid looking like, but then this tender looking man is put one-on-one with someone very mighty. They felt this was such an unfair thing. They complained. They raised their voice, right? It's very rare for, women to fight in an open assembly like that. But here, the ladies raised their voice and said, this is an irreligious setting. Kamsa, you'll be destroyed. We will actually go away from here. Because when irreligion is there, the entire city should depart from there. Otherwise, everybody's houses will be destroyed. So what is happening here is adharmic in nature, right? Generally, you should check the powers of each person and pair one-on-one with people of equal power. You cannot put such a tender person against, a mighty mountain. That is how they described, right? The Mallas appeared like mighty mountains and Krishna appeared very tender. But to that Malla, this Krishna appeared like thunderbolt because he was feeling the punches, right? So this is how they were absorbed. Gopanam swajanaha. For the Gopas, naturally all the Gopas also came because as Krishna was coming, they also wanted to witness what was happening. He said, in Telugu we say manodera, right? In this way, apna hai. So, don't worry about him. Krishna is our own Krishna. Who do you think, who will win? They were betting with each other, right? He killed Putana. He killed Trinavarta. He killed Sakatasura. He subdued the pride of Indra. He removed the delusion of Brahma. He did so many things. Aghasura, Vatsasura, Dhenukasura, Pralambasura, some Balarama, some Krishna. In this way, every day they killed so many asuras, right? Bakasura. So in this way, they said, definitely Krishna is going to win. So every time Krishna gave a punch or something, they say, yay. In this way, they were all absorbed in Krishna. Gopanam svajana. Asatam kshitibhujam shasta. There were others also who were, brothers of Kamsa and so on, who were there, who were supporters of Kamsa. Right? And there were some impious rulers also. It's not that Kamsa was the only person who was inimical towards Krishna. Right? There are always people in Kamsa's party also. To such people, he looked like a commander or ruler. Right? The ruler of all people. This small child appeared as if he's going to rule everything. That is exactly how he appeared even to Putana. When Putana came to, kill Krishna as a baby, he appeared as if this child is going to burn the entire universe. That small child appeared like that when she took that child in her arms. right? That is how Krishna appeared to her. Similarly, even for these people, he is appearing as if he is going to rule the entire world, right? Swapitroho Shishuhu. For people like Devaki and Vasudeva, they felt, Ayyo, he's my child, my small child. Look at these words of these ladies were the things that were hitting their mind. They were feeling that he's a small child. Look at my child. What will happen to my child? It should be between equals. It cannot be between unequals, and so on. In this way, they were completely grieving and they felt fearful. With fear and grief, they absorbed themselves in Krishna. Finally, Bhojapatehe Mrityuhu. Bhojapati, that is Kamsa. To him, he appeared like death personified. Kamsa's, thoughts, the way Kamsa's thoughts were absorbed in Krishna are also described in the Bhagavata Purana. Sa Nityada Udvigna Dhiya Tamishwaram Piban Adanva Vicharan Swapan Swashan Dadarsa Chakrayudham Agrado Yatas Tadeva Rupam Duravapam Apa. Sa Nityada Udvigna Dhiya. Constantly his mind was disturbed. Piban, whether he was drinking water. Adan, whether he was eating anything. Va, Vicharan, whether he was even taking a walk. Swapan, whether he was sleeping. Swasan, whether he was breathing. Dadarsa Chakrayudham Agrataha. So in front of him, he was always seeing Krishna holding his chakra, and anytime he's about to kill him. Why is Kamsa's mood like this? Because Kamsa believed in the prophecy that was told, right? The prophecy was that Akashavani said that the 8th child is going to be your death. And that is exactly what Maya Devi also said, right? Maya Devi said that person, don't think, he's going to get caught by you right now. At the right time, he will come and he'll kill you. In this way, Maya Devi said, and she disappeared into the air. So still Kamsa was fraught with fear. Therefore, he was really feeling that Krishna could come in any form, right? It is the Supreme Lord who is going to come. Narada already came and hinted that all the devatas have taken avatars, right, in some form. So Kamsa really, imagine the mind of Kamsa in such a context, right? He was feeling so tensed at every moment that if he took a glass of water, he felt that this glass of water could have been poisoned. So he couldn't even drink a glass of water. If he wanted to eat food, he felt this food might have been poisoned, or suddenly in his plate, the plate might turn into Krishna and Krishna might punch him and kill him. In this way, he was afraid of even, eating something. If he was just taking a walk or just going down the stairs, he was afraid that he might slip and fall and he might die. Krishna might come in some form and he might hit him and he might die. Swapan, the same with sleeping. He couldn't even sleep one night peacefully. The previous night, he even had so many bad dreams about, his death, that he was almost certain, right? They say as certain as death, right? As sure as death. So in this way, he was very, very certain about his death, right? Swasan, even as he was breathing, right? When someone is filled with a lot of anxiety, they pant a lot. Right? Their breathing will also be very, very agitated. Their pulse rate will be very, very high. So Kamsa was someone like this, right? He was actually absorbed in Krishna out of fear. Therefore, it is said, Bhayat Kamsaha, right? Yesterday we discussed a sloka that Narada was giving, right, to Yudhishthira, that Kamsa, out of fear, he was absorbed in Krishna. So in this way, he was absorbed. Avidusham Virat. So there were other ignorant people ignorant of Atma Tattva. For them, he appeared just like an ordinary person, but like a superhero. Yoginam Tattvam Param. For yogis, he appeared as Paratattva, because they could, even there were obviously very learned Brahmanas and others in that crowd, in that assembly, right? And they all felt, Eto Bhagavataha Sakshat Harer Narayanasya Hi Avatirnau Ihamsena Vasudevasya Veshmani. So, in the house of Vasudeva, Sakshat Harer Narayanasya Hi, the Lord himself, Lord Hari himself, Lord Narayana himself has appeared. Bhagavata Sakshat Avatirno. Right? In this way, they were very clear about who this person is. Vrishninam Paradevata. For Vrishnis, he appeared as the supreme Devata to be worshipped. So, in this way, if we see, great Acharyas comment that, the different rasas, right? Raudro, Adbhutascha, Shringaro, Hasyam, Viro, Dayayatha, Bhayanakascha, Bhibatsaha, Shantasa, Prema Bhaktikaha. In this way, these are the different rasas. So, the wrestlers who were fighting him, they experienced Raudra Rasa, because Krishna was actually displaying that fury with them, right? The men of the city, they experienced Adbhuta Rasa, because they were wonderstruck with how good Krishna was in every sense. right? The women, they experienced Shringara Rasa because they were, finding him just so cute and Cupid-like, so that they were getting attracted to him. The cowherds, right? The Gopas who have appeared there, they were experiencing Hasya Rasa, right? Because they were looking at a comedy show here. Krishna is just going to beat and pound them, and they were just enjoying and laughing, right? And then the kings, right? The kings, they were experiencing Veera Rasa, right? Chivalry of Krishna. The parents, they had this Daya Rasa. Their hearts were filled with mercy, compassion towards Krishna, right? Kamsa, he was experiencing Bhayanaka Rasa. Krishna was a terror for Kamsa. And sure enough, he took care of Kamsa, right? Right after the scene, Kamsa ordered, as soon as Chanura and Mushtika were killed, few other, naturally, the first time, the villain himself will not come first. He will send to very powerful people. And then the hero is struck by them first. And the hero strikes them back. He kills them. Then as if others are going to attack, two other people will come. And then the fifth person onwards, they'll start running away. Right? That's what we see in movies also. Right? The same thing happened here. After Chanura and Mushtika were killed, few other wrestlers have come, and then the rest of the wrestlers ran away as soon as Krishna destroyed, he killed the remaining wrestlers too. It comes at that point, he ordered, arrest this Vasudeva, kill this Vasudeva, and kill this Nanda. These are the people who are cheaters, and so on. And as soon as Krishna heard these words, he became very furious. He just dragged Kamsa into the arena. He gave 1 pound and Kamsa was finished. Right? So in this way, Krishna really appeared like terror to Kamsa. And then the unintelligent people, Avidusham, they experienced bhibhatsa, ghastliness. Right? They couldn't understand what was going on. They just know that a superhero came. He's just doing super feats here. So they were just, in bhibhatsa rasa. The yogis, they were happily absorbed in Paramatma's glories. They were experiencing Shanta Rasa, right? And then the Vrishnis, they were experiencing Prema Rasa. So in this way, this tatwa, right, that Taittiriya Upanishad told about, Rasovai Saha, 𝐿𝐮𝐩𝐸𝐵𝐭 labdva anandi bhavati. So when one attains that tatwa called rasa, one gets ananda. That means one has to eventually attain that Krishna. To attain that Krishna, Krishna has to somehow or the other absorb everybody into him, into whatever he does, right? So therefore, when this Paratatva appears with all auspicious attributes. No matter which dimension you look at this Paratatva, whether it is intelligence, he is the most intelligent person, right? When we look at some of the qualities of Rama, right, that are recited right in the beginning of Sankshepa Ramayana, we find that he was the best in every sense, right? His beauty, he was the best. His charm, he was the best. Intelligence, he was the best. Power, he was the best. In this way, whatever dimension you look at him, he was the best. In that way, he would completely absorb everybody onto him. To such an extent that even in Ramavatara, when Rama first appeared in front of Ravana, Ravana was sort of, awestruck that he couldn't immediately attack Rama. Rama was attacking Ravana, and at one point the charioteer decided to take a turn. When Rama was attacking Ravana, Ravana became awestruck. Just looking at Rama's chivalry, he really felt that this is the kind of warrior I am looking for all along in my life. Right? He never found a person like that. He was so much absorbed in Rama that he didn't even feel like fighting back. Right? And the charioteer had to take a back turn and take him back. And then he said, what did you do? And then he answered saying, if I don't bring you back, you would have been killed by now. If I didn't bring you back, you would have been killed by now. In this way, he actually responded. Right? So in this way, to the bad people and good people alike, to people who are neutral, to unintelligent people, to the most intelligent people, to everybody, Krishna will somehow or the other make everybody absorb in him and make them forget who they are or what they were doing or what circumstance they were in. In this way, he is rasa. Therefore, with all confidence, Narada Maharshi said, Tasmat kenapi upayena mana Krishne niveshayet. He said that somehow or the other, it doesn't matter which way you should absorb in Krishna, right? Choose your own way. But all acharyas have said that it is not possible for us, ordinary people like us, to hold, as much hatred as Shishupala held or have as much fear as Kamsa had towards Krishna and so on. So easiest way for all of us is to develop an understanding of his glories, the various beautiful ways in which he runs his pastimes, right? And then somehow or the other, fix our minds upon him with loving devotion called bhakti. So therefore, bhakti has been defined by the Puranas as sneha purvam or priti purvam anudhyanam, right? Constant meditation out of love, right? That is the easiest thing that we can do, because we cannot hate him constantly, we cannot be afraid of him constantly, nor can we be envious of him constantly. Right? So the easiest solution for all of us is therefore to love him with our full heart. Right? So with this, we have so far experienced one beautiful quality or one beautiful attribute of Paramatma called rasa, sarva rasaha. Therefore, another Upanishad describes him as sarva rasaha, sarva gandhaha. All beautiful fragrances come out from his body. Right? When we look at the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's form is being described by Sanjaya there. He says, Divya Malyambaradharam Divya Gandhanulepanam Sarvascharyamayam Devam Anantam Vishvato Mukham. So Lord's form was so beautiful that Divya Malyambaradharam, he has adorned himself with so many divine garlands that they were emanating so beautiful fragrances. It's not that he required garlands to make him fragrant. He was naturally fragrant. He had his own fragrances coming out of his body, right? So all of this was really so amazing of an experience for anybody who experienced that form of Krishna, right? So this is everything about rasa. The same Upanishad, Taittiriya Upanishad, when we look at Bhruguvalli, right? Taittiriya has Sikshavalli, Bhruguvalli, Anandavalli, and Mahanarayana Upanishad. These are the 4 branches of Taittiriya Upanishad that are available to us today. So when we look at Bhruguvalli, there are some beautiful descriptions that are found, right? In Anandavalli, we find the Krishna being identified as, the Paramatma Tattva being identified as rasa. But in the same Taittiriya Upanishad, we also find Brahma being defined as Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, right? Yo Veda Nihitam Guhayam Parame Vyoman So Ashnute Sarvan Kaman Saha Brahmana Vipaschiteti. So it is said that one who experiences this tattva, right? Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, right? It's a very beautiful phrase, right? It almost became a very beautiful subject topic for many sampradayas. They tried to define elaborately. In the Advaita Sampradaya, they offered a very simple explanation for what Satyam is. They said Satyam is that which is not, Asatyam is Satyam. Jnanam is that which is not, Ajnanam is Jnanam. Anantam is that which is not, limited is unlimited, right? But in other Sampradayas, they have gone to elaborate extents to describe what Satyatvam is. It comes from the root word Sat, means existence, right? Existence denotes Jivatma, right? Because Jiva is a thing that always exists, right? Jiva cannot be destroyed, right? We have learned in the Bhagavad Gita that for it, there is no birth or death, right? Na jayate mriyate va kadachit, na ayam bhutva bhavitavana bhuyah, ajo nityaha shashvato ayam puranaha, na hanyate hanyamane sharire, right? Similarly, Katha Upanishad also describes something very similar. So, existence or Sat denotes Jiva, right? Now we have transitioned into a different topic called Satyam, right? For the rest of today, we will probably spend on the word Satyam, right? Each word is so detailed that it is actually not possible to cover all these in the small series. So we will experience as much as we can, but we don't want to rush and make everybody feel like things have been covered, but then they feel that it has rushed, right? So Satyam. Satyam is coming from Yam, he who controls Sat and Ti. Ti is coming from Prakriti. Sat is existence, Jiva. So he who has the controller ability over both Jiva and Prakriti is that Satyam, Satya Tattvam, right? Again, when we look a little in detail about what this Satyam is, right? What we are told is that even Vyasa, very interestingly, he begins the Bhagavata Purana with a very beautiful prayer, right? Janmadyasya yatonvayad itaratascha artheshu abhigna swarat Tene Brahma Hridaya Yadikavaye Muhyanti Yat Surayah Tejovari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatra Trishargo Mrisha Dhamna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi. He says, he doesn't specify who he is meditating upon. He says Satyam Param Dhimahi. I am meditating on Satyam Param, or the supreme truth. He does not answer it here. He does not answer it in the second skandha, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth. He doesn't answer it. In the Dasama skandha, he finally answers who this Satyam Param is. Right? He reveals it very beautifully also. He reveals it through the mouth of the devatas themselves, right? An ordinary person revealing who that is different from the devatas revealing it, right? When Krishna appeared in the womb of Devaki, right? At that time, Devaki was glowing, right? She was glowing with a lot of charm, right? She was carrying that glow. And all the devatas immediately realized that Sriman Narayana has decided to appear. And at that point, on his appearance, on the occasion of his appearance, there is a beautiful sloka that is mentioned in the Dasama Skandha, right? Second chapter, sloka number 26. Satyavratam, Satyaparam Trisatyam, Satyasya yonim nihitam cha satye, Satyasya satyam vritasatya netram, Satyatmakam tvam sharanam prapannaha. This is how the devatas glorify Sri Krishna when he appears. Let us try to examine what this sloka has in it and how beautifully our Purvacharyas have experienced the word Satyam, right? Satyavratam. Satyavratam means he who always keeps his word, right? That is Satya Sankalpatvam, right? Not everybody can really keep their word. It is not easy. To utter anything is very easy, but to keep the promise is very, very difficult, right? In fact, two instances that come to my mind where the glories of being truthful are described in the Mahabharata are, Bhishma, right? And he said that he took a vow that he is going to remain celibate. So Amba tried to trouble him to the greatest extent that she could, right? Into somehow or the other marrying him. But Bhima did not break that vow. He said, I made a vow, no matter what happens. She tried to avenge for it because she felt, she had been, falsely carried away. Bhishma had a very good intent, but he took a vow that because, Satyavati, she had certain conditions based on which, she thought she could get married, because if Bhishma got married and he had children, then the throne would not come to her children. So therefore they had, her father had actually, the fisherman, he had actually put that condition that, Bhishma, not that Bhishma cannot marry, but basically he conveyed that message to Shantanu Maharaja, and Shantanu Maharaja became very dull. And Bhishma inquired from him what happened. He just told that, I want to marry this lady, but then there are all these conditions. So I don't think this is going to happen. Bhishma immediately said that I'm going to make a very terrific vow that I'm going to remain celibate for the rest of my life. I'm not going to marry anybody. And then he kept that vow to such an extent. He was not going to break it. And then Shakuntala also, right? She had a child called Bharata, and then she brought that child back to Dushyanta. But then Dushyanta was not accepting that this child is his own child, right? He had his own reasons, right? Mahabharata says that because nobody else saw that, these two people actually begot Bharata, he wanted some other evidence coming from some external source that this child is really Bharata's child. Otherwise, just like what happened in the case of Ramachandra, right? Everybody would blame Dushyanta. Ruler should never be blameworthy. That was the reason why Dushyanta decided to remain silent. And he pretended as if he did not know what was going on, right? So Shakuntala, at that point, she says, do you even understand the value of truth? And, she gives a very beautiful discourse. So in the Itihasas and the Puranas, we really find, even in the Upanishads, they emphasize a lot, for a person who is a mumukshu, he has to be truthful, right? If this is the case, then we are trying to meditate on that tatwa, then that tatwa itself cannot be untruthful, right? The goal that we are all trying to attain, right? Even if ordinary dharma entails being truthful, and even Visesha dharma, that is for a mumukshu also, being truthful is important, then it is even more important for someone who is the Supreme Lord himself. he is untruthful, then everybody else will follow him and say that I can also be untruthful, right? So therefore, Krishna is always truthful, right? Even as Rama, he very clearly says in the Rama Avatara, Anrutam nokta purvam me nachavakshe kadachana. I never have lied, I will never lie, right? Ramod virna abhibhashate. For Ramachandra, there is no two words. It's not like one day I'll speak one thing, another day I'll speak another thing. If I said something, that's it. I will not change. I will not go back on my word, right? This is the vow with which Rama lived. Similarly, for Krishna also, there is no breaking of word, right? So what is the vow that he, in fact, many people think that for Rama Avatara, I agree, yes, Rama is very, very truthful, but Krishna, no, I don't think Krishna is truthful. Krishna is very untruthful. Many people believe like this, right? They have so many misconceptions about who Krishna is and what he does. So towards the end of the Avatara, Krishna himself, makes a declaration, right? It's a very beautiful declaration. Just like in the Rama Avatara, we have a very beautiful declaration in relation to Rama's truthfulness, right? Dharmatma satyasandhascha ramo dasaradhiryati paurushecha apratidvandva sharenanjahi ravanim, right? Right? Lakshmana, in order to, fight against Indrajit. Indrajit is someone who was very unconquerable, right? He has won over Indra. So there was a very intense fight happening between Indrajit and Lakshmana. In the Valmiki Ramayana and the Yuddha Kanda, it is almost described for 5 or 6 chapters, almost like at least 3 chapters, if I remember correctly, 3 to 4 chapters. A very intense fight was going on, right? No one was compromising, right? Lakshmana was hit and wounded very, very badly. That blood was coming out of his chest. But still, he was so valorous that he was not even accepting the defeat. Same was the case with Indrajit also. They were fighting in a very terrific manner, right? Finally, Lakshmana had one divine weapon, right? What he did was the same, it was not the arrow really that mattered a lot because he was Indrajit. So Aindrastra will not work on him because he has already won over Indra. He took the same Aindrastra, but then he added another Brahmastra to it. What was it? He recited certain words. He said, Dharmatma, if Rama is always dharmic. Satyasandhascha, if Rama had always been truthful. Ramo dasaradhir yadi, Rama the son of Dasaratha, if he is always dharmic, if he is always truthful, Paurushecha pratidvandva, if he is unparalleled in his prowess, Sara enam jahi ravanim. Ravani is the son of Ravana, Indrajit, right? May this arrow kill you. This was the powerful mantra he added with that astra and he released it. Immediately it struck him on his head and his head fell on the ground. So that means even on Rama, these blames have come that Rama had not been truthful while, Rama was being taken away on the chariot. He said, when the charioteer said that, Sumantra actually said, Dasaratha is calling, Rama said, tell him that in this ghosha, right? You have not heard me. Just take me away. So it is sort of a white lie. And that is dharmic. It's not untruthful. But people think that Rama also lied. So they blame. So Lakshmana put an end to all such arguments. Those who say that Rama lied, Lakshmana answered that if Rama lied, then this mantra will not work, right? Then Indrajit could not be killed. Indrajit was killed means Rama had been truthful always, without exception, right? Same is the case with he being dharmic at all times. Sometimes, many times people say that while attacking Vali, he attacked from behind a tree, that's not dharmic and so on. Vali himself questioned, he answered to Vali. Later Tara, she came, she also acknowledged that whatever Rama did was, very virtuous. But then many people today, they think that they are more intelligent Vali, more intelligent than Tara, and they come and question saying that Rama is not dharmic, right? Because they don't even read Ramayana and understand the arguments put forward there. Anyway, so Rama was also dharmic. There was nothing adharmic in what, and Rama himself had answered that, okay? Similarly, even Krishna makes a vow here, right? When, at what point, the only remnant of the dynasty, Parikshit, when he was in the womb of Uttara, Aswadhama, he thinks he was being very, very, loyal to Duryodhana, and he releases Brahmastra to destroy even that last surviving person of that dynasty, right? The Brahmastra's heat is so intense that it almost chars him completely, right? At that point, when Uttara comes and prays to Krishna, Krishna makes a few statements. In the Mahabharata, we find this, okay? He says, Yadime brahmacharyam syat. if I had always been a brahmachari, satyancha mai tishtati, if I had always been truthful, avyahatam mamaishwaryam, if I have unparalleled rule over everybody, tena jivatu balakaha, then may this child come alive. And the child comes alive. Right? So Krishna himself has proved that people who have blamed him, saying he's roaming with the gopis in the middle of the night, how can he be a brahmachari? Or, Krishna always keeps lying. He goes to one house, he does something, he steals and so on. Krishna himself has silenced all these arguments by this particular sloka that appears in the Mahabharata. Right? So this establishes that Krishna is always truthful. Great. What is the truth we are talking about here? Satyavratam means he has vowed to remain truthful. He made a few promises before Krishnavataram. He fulfills all those promises in Krishnavataram. What are the promises? Why did he even appear as Krishna? The Devatas do not make words out of context, right? The first thing that came to their mind, this is really the first prayer of the Devatas, right? At the appearance of Krishna. They said, Satyavratam. Why did you even appear? Because you want to really keep your word. That's why you have appeared. What was the word he gave? To Jaya and Vijaya, he gave a word that they are going to take 3 birds, right? And then as Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, as Ravana Kumbhakarna, and as Shishupala Dantavaktra. He said he is going to appear and they will hold enmity towards him, and finally he'll kill them and he'll bring them back. He gave a promise. Now they have appeared as Shishupala and Dantavaktra. So he has to also appear. So he has to fulfill his promise. So he also appeared, right? So he kept his word. Then he gave a word to Prishni and Sutapa, right? They prayed to Paratatva, Narayana, for almost 12,000 celestial years, right? And they did a very intense penance. And then when they prayed, they asked that you should appear as our child for 3 births. Then he said yes. So he appeared as Prishni Garbha for the first time. He appeared as Vamana for the second time to Aditi and Kashyapa. And then for the third time, he is now appearing as Sri Krishna to Devaki and Vasudeva. So to exactly show that the same Narayana that you have prayed to has now appeared, he appears with his Sankha Chakra Gada Ayudham. So he appears with all those Ayudhas as Narayana himself. It's literally a child Narayana who appears right there. And he says, Saphalam Devi Sanjatam Jatoyam Yat Tavodarat. Right? I have proved my word by appearing in your womb. Oh, Devi, please understand that I have kept my word. So the third promise has also been fulfilled. Right? And then he gave another word to the Devatas to reduce the Bhubharam. Right? What happened at one point, Yama, right? The destroyer of everybody, he decided to do a yajna. He somehow felt he wanted to do a yajna. So he sat down. As he is trying to do a yajna, certain purity has to be maintained, right? So he decided to somehow not kill anybody. Because if you keep killing every day, if you keep taking the lives of people, how can you remain pure? So Yama was not taking the life of anybody. Finally, it is described by Acharyas that literally people were falling on the road, vehicles were going on him and they were again getting up and they were going away, right? As there are movies like Yamalila or Yamagola, whatever, right? They show Yama somehow lost his book and then people were dying and they were getting up and going away. So that thing really happened, right? It's just that he did not lose his book. He was not so negligent. Chitragupta was not so negligent. He did not lose his book or anything. But then that thing really happened, right? As a result of that, Ashura Shaktis were increasing on earth because really nobody was dying. And there was a point at which the earth could not tolerate, Bhudevi could not tolerate the extent to which Ashura Shaktis had increased on earth. She went and complained to Brahmadeva, saying that I'm not able to tolerate all the atrocities that are being committed on earth. So please give me shelter. And then Brahmadeva, along with all the other devatas, they went to Narayana along with Bhudevi, and then they made a prayer, right? Using Purusha Sukta and other things, they made a prayer. Narayana said, I will appear. He gave a promise again. To fulfill that promise, he has now appeared. So that is the thing that the devatas are remembering. And said, Satyavratam, you have kept your word. He gave a word to so many people in previous avatars also. It's really that continuity of avatars that he is maintaining, right? It's not that in Rama avatara or in other avatars, he gave words that he never kept, right? The Shrutis, the Vedas themselves, all the Upanishads, they wanted to really experience Paramatma, right? Because they know the glories of Paramatma more than anybody else, right? Because they themselves are the ones that are describing Paramatma at all times, right? So they really, when someone is filled with the glories of the other person, you would want to meet that person. You would want to somehow or the other develop friendship with that person, to experience that person, right? That's what the Shrutis felt. He said, Vayavasvata Manvantare Vraje Gopyo Bhavishyatha. Please appear as gopis in Vrajabhumi. I will fulfill your desire. Then in Rama Avatara, another interesting incident happened, right? We all know, right? Sita Devi was sent to the forest. And then Rama, in the absence of Sita Devi, he did so many Ashwametha yajnas, right? So many yajnas were performed. Each time a yajna was performed, wife needs to be present right next to the husband for a yajna to happen, right? Otherwise, the husband has to have something related to the wife next to him so that he can do it. So Rama had, because he was a king, he had the luxury of having a golden form of Sita Devi. And then Vasishtha himself did Prana Pratishtha also. And then this Vasishtha is not an ordinary person, right? So each time with this golden Sita, he performed a yajna, right? And because each time there were several yajnas that were performed, he did not want to reuse them also. So he used to make new golden Sitas each time. There are multiple such golden Sitas that were collected in his treasure house, right? And all of them, for all of them, Prana Pratishtha was done by none other than Vasishtha Maharshi, right? So Vasishtha Maharshi is such a great person that when he pronounced that Vishwamitra, from now on, he shall be a Brahmana, Vishwamitra had become a Brahmana. So that is the power of Vasishtha Maharshi's words. So they cannot go wrong. So if he did Prana Pratishtha, that means Prana exists in all of them, right? Every one of them, and Sita Devi also came and embraced them also, right? So one day when Rama went to his treasure house and nobody was there, they all held Rama's hand. Immediately he got shocked. He saw what was happening. They said, what about us? He said, what about you? Right? Then he said, we are all your wives. He said, Rama, no, what are you saying? I have Ekapatni Vratam in this life. Okay, you cannot do all these things to me. Then they said, seriously, are you serious, Rama? What about all of us? He said, if you are really, if you really have prana, if you are jivas, there are some jivas in you, and then you really want to be my wives, then in Vraje Gopyo Bhavishyatha, again he said that you all take birth as Gopikas in Brajabhumi. I will fulfill your desire. Great. Another instance. Okay. So that promise also he has to keep. Again, he fulfilled that promise. Next, he went to the forest, right? Dandakaranya. And then the sages of Dandakaranya, they were all, it is described that Gopalopasakaha Sarvehe. They were all doing upasana of Gopala Tattva, right? They were chanting. And then in the Ramayana also, Valmiki Maharshi very beautifully describes that when Sita, Rama and Lakshmana, they were walking, it appeared to all the sages as if Omkara came in front of them and it was walking, right? Because they three represented Akara, Ukara, Makara, right? Lakshmana, the Jiva, represented the Makara. Sita Devi, Sita Sumadhyama, he says that the Sita Devi in the middle represented the Ukara, the bridge between Jivatma and Paramatma. And Paramatma is Akara, who was standing in front. Agrato Prayata Ramaha. Sita Madhye Sumadhyama, right? In this way, they were seeing as if Omkara was walking in front of them. At that time, Dandakaranya sages also felt that the Paratatva that we had been doing Upasana of had appeared finally in front of us. We all want to experience this Paratatva. So they all said, we all want to become your wives. And again, Rama said the same thing. See, I have a free brotherhood program going on in this life. Okay. If you say I want to become your brother, I will accept. Right? That's what he did. Vibhishana said, he said, okay, all right, I'm accepting you as my brother. Sugriva said, I'm accepting you as another brother. In this way, Rama said, you can enlist yourself as another brother of mine if you don't, I don't mind that. But wife, only one wife in this life. Right? Then, again for them, he said, Praje Gopyo Bhavishyata. You all become gopis in the next life, I will fulfill. So in this way, if we even imagine, he took many avatars. Matsya Avatara, it was a huge fish. There were several female fish that also appeared and they got attracted to him. But he was busy protecting the Veda in that Pralaya, right? Pralayodaka, right? So all of them he has to fulfill. Similarly, Kurma Avatara, Varaha Avatara. So in every one of these avatars, again, when Paramatma appears, he appears in an all-attractive form to us also and to even the same species also, right? It has been acknowledged repeatedly in the scriptures that even in aquatic species or other lower species, if he is appearing in that species, it's not just for our sake. He is trying to benefit even people in that species, right? Jivas in that species, right? So by the glorious feats that if a fish is dancing or something, right? Sometimes if we go to places like Hawaii or some other beach and so on, there is this whale watching and all these things that are done, right? Dolphins, they do amazing feats. If they are attractive to us, imagine how attractive they'll be to the species of the same kind, right? So naturally, other animals in the same species may also have experienced some kind of attraction to all the wonderful feats that Paramatma did. And then he might have given promises to them, we do not know. And all of that he has to fulfill in this final avatar called Krishnavataram. Not just that, he also gave promises to several other people like Jambavan and others, right? Who had a desire to fight Rama. He saw how, Rama's arms were very mighty and so on. So Jambavan said, I really want to fight with you. Rama said, no, this is Shantavatara. I cannot fight with people who are my own people. If you have that desire very strongly, it may be fulfilled in the future, he said. So he fought with Jambavan, right? To get Jambavati. Right? So in this way, every one of these things, Putana, right? Another beautiful thing, right? When Vamana, in Vamana Avatara, right? When, he came as a small child, he was reciting Veda. He was such a beautiful and attractive child, right? Such a beautiful brahmachari. He came and he was talking in a very sweet way, right? Then, Balikanya Ratnamala, says Brahmavaivarta Purana, right? Ratnamala, the daughter of Bali, she saw this child and she became attracted with motherhood. She felt that, child should be like this, I really wish that I could give milk to this child, right? She thought, let me take this child and give milk. But then a little later, it appeared to her that Vamana had actually cheated Bali and he took away all the kingdom. Immediately, she became filled with so much anger and she felt, a child like this should not be given milk, he should actually be given poison. Vamana, he heard both of these. Okay, this lady wants to give me milk. This lady also wants to give me poison. Okay, may both of those be fulfilled. Tathastu. She took birth as Putana. And she gave milk, she gave poison. And she got moksha also. So in this way, when Krishna appears, he appears with the desire to fulfill so many things. He remembers every single thing. We may forget what things we have told Paramatma, but he never forgets, right? All the promises he makes to us, right? All the promises he makes, he never forgets them. So therefore, he carries this Satyavratam. Then Satya Param, right? Jiva is Satyam. The combination of Jiva and Prakriti is what is making all of us possible in this planet, right? So our existence is Satyam, right? Satya Param means he is actually the Sreshtham, right? He is beyond the combination of this Jiva and Prakriti. So that is what is being indicated by Satya Param, right? Another commentary says, Paramam represents Sreshtham. This is Sridhara commentary. The previous one was Veeraraghaviyam. So Satyam means Prapti Sadhanam, he says that he is the supreme means of all the means, right? Paramatma is Upayam, Paramatma is also Upayam. He is the supreme means. Trisatyam, how exactly can he be Satyavrata? To be Satyavrata, you really have to have control over three things. You should have control over all the jivas. You should have control over Prakriti. You should also have control over Kala. Right? If we just saw whatever we described just now, right? Some of them were vows made in the previous yugas, in the previous avataras. So he should precisely know at what point he should fulfill them also. That means he should have control over Kala also. So Trisatyam means he who possesses these three things as his body. That means he who is the inner controller of Jiva, Prakriti and Kala. So that he can inspire all of these and he can work the logistics out and he can fulfill everything. So therefore, he is called Trisatyam. Sridhara Acharya's commentary says that someone who is always present is Trisatyam. That means he is present before the cosmos got created. He is present during the time the cosmos exists. And he is also present after the cosmos annihilates. So at all three times he is present. He is Trisatyam. Satyasya Yonim. He is the cause of this world, which is Satya. Right? Nihitancha Satye. He is also the cause, or he is also the inner controller of Paramapadam. That is something that is Nirvikare Pare Vyomni Satye. right? The supreme sky, which is nirvikara in nature, is also Satyam. So he is also the inner controller of that world as well as this world. Satyasya Satyam. The word Satya represents Jiva and Prakriti, right? Prakriti is something that changes both in Swarupa and Swabhava, right? Prakriti is always undergoing modifications. That is the nature of matter, right? Matter always goes through transformation. It is never created, it is never destroyed, but it always goes through transformations. This is what even modern science accepts of matter, right? But that is not the case with Jiva. Jiva Swarupa remains the same. Swarupa Ritya, Jiva is always the servant of Paramatma. But Swabhava changes for the Jiva, right? Sankocha Vikasa happens to his Jnana, right? In various forms. Depending upon what body comes to the Jiva, the intelligence in the body, like tree, right, is very little. The consciousness that the Jiva can express is very little compared to the body of a human being, where there is much more freedom of expression, of consciousness, right, of feelings, of everything, right? So in this way, the swabhava of the jiva keeps changing, but the swarupa remains constant. Now, Paramatma is someone for whom both swabhava and swarupa both remain the same. They never change, right? That is the difference between jiva, prakriti, and Paramatma. So Satyasya Satyam means he who is beyond this changes of swarupa and swabhava. Rita Satya Netram. There are different meanings for the word Rita and Satya, right? Satyam means the sun, Surya, right? And then because the Veda says, Shruti actually says, Aso Aditya Satyam iti Shrutehe, right? The Shruti actually says this, the sun is Satya. And then Ritam represents the moon. So Rita Satya Netram, we all know from Vishnu Sahasranama, right? Surya Chandrocha Netre, right? For whom both the sun and the moon are his eyes. Why are the sun and the moon his eyes? Because there is both aggression. The sun represents aggression. The moon represents compassion, pleasing nature. He is pleasing towards those who are dharmic in nature. He is aggressive towards those who are adharmic in nature. So Paramatma's eyes represent both, the pleasing nature of the moon and the aggressive nature of the sun. This is why he is Rita Satya Netram, right? That is how he manifested in Krishnavataram also, right? To the devotees who took shelter of him, like the Pandavas, in fact, when, in the Vishwarupa Sandarshana Yoga, the 11th Adhyaya of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna very clearly sees that only the Pandavas were the ones who were remaining. Everybody else, Krishna was actually consuming them in the universal form, right? Then there are also other explanations that are told. Rita Satya Netra means Ritam represents Dharma, Satya represents Satya. So Satya Dharma, these are the two wheels. Even as Ramavatara, we saw that these are the two things he took, right? Satya and Dharma were two things he never missed on, right? Dharma Atma, Satya Sandhascha, right? Similarly, the truth uttered with the mouth is Satyam, and the Punya Karma that we do is Ritam. So these two are always inspired by Paramatma, that is Rita Satya Netra. Then Satyatmakam. Satyatmakam means he who always remains the same is Satya. Tvam Sharanam Prapannaha. Tvam Sharanam Prapannas. After meditating on what Satyam really means in all these aspects, finally the Devatas are saying, you are the tatwa that one should surrender to. Who should one surrender to? First of all, we should have guarantee that they can actually protect us. If someone cannot, why do we even surrender? If we can take care of ourselves, we don't surrender to anybody, right? So when we try to surrender to someone, that means we surrender so that they can actually offer some help or offer some protection from the situation that we are in, right? Whatever circumstance we are facing in our life. So person should be capable of doing it first. So therefore, that person should have, if that complexity of the situation is such that it involves other jivas, certain situations and circumstances to act in a favorable way to us, that means it should involve prakriti, and the right time also, time should also be favorable. That means that tatwa should have jiva, prakriti, and kala under control. So trisatyam, that is the right tatwa to surrender under all circumstances. Why? Anybody else who doesn't have control of all these three things cannot be helpful to us, right? So first of all, they should have samarthyam, the ability to protect us. Second thing, they should be able to give a word that is truthful. Someone may have the ability to protect us, but they may not give us a word that they'll protect us. Then what is the point, right? So such a person should give us a word. One who is satyatmakam in nature, he will actually give us that word, right? And then it is not just giving a word, but someone should also keep that word. If someone doesn't keep that word after giving it, then there is no use. For instance, Indra, Takshaka is a very close friend of Indra, right? And Takshaka approached when 𝐿𝐮𝐩𝐸𝐽 was performing this sacrifice of snakes, right? Sarpayaga, because, he got angry that his father, Parikshit Maharaj, was killed by Takshaka. So he decided to perform this fire sacrifice where all the snakes everywhere present in the entire world would come and they would fall in the fire and they would get destroyed. He got very angry. Takshaka was a culprit. He took shelter of Indra because he was a close friend of Indra. Indra said, okay, all right, I'll give you shelter. Then he went and remained in the abode of Indra. Then, in order to stop that sacrifice, Vasuki actually makes a prayer, and then, not getting into all the details, a person called Astika, he comes there, right? He comes in order to save the snake species from that sacrifice. He comes there, he appears there. He starts glorifying 𝐿𝐮𝐸𝐽𝐸. And then 𝐿𝐮𝐸𝐽𝐸 says, I'm very pleased with your prayers. I want to give you a boon. Immediately, the Ritviks there, they say that don't offer boons right now until your task is finished, right? Takshaka should fall in the fire, then you can offer boons. Then, he asks, where is this Takshaka? They say, Indra has given him shelter. He's in the abode of Indra. Immediately, 𝐿𝐮𝐸𝐽𝐸 gets very angry. He says, perform the sacrifice and invoke Indra also. At that time, Indra and Takshaka appear in the sky and they keep seeing what is happening. Takshaka immediately hides himself inside the Uttariya of Indra, right? And then as soon as 𝐿𝐮𝐸𝐽𝐸 says that, invoke Takshaka along with Indra, Sahendra Takshaka Yaswaha. In this way, he said, immediately Indra abandoned him, saying, I'm not going to protect you. Previously, he gave a word that he'll protect. Now he's saying, I cannot protect you, go away. So then such a person, such a promise is useless. When someone gives a promise, they should keep it as a vratam. Sakradeva prapannaya tavasmi iti chayachate. Right? Even if once somebody asks that I'm yours, please protect me, my Lord. Abhayam sarvabhutebhyo dadami. I will give protection from everybody. Etad vratam mama. This is how Ramachandra's vratam is. Right? It doesn't matter how they are. Right? Mitra bhavena sampraptam nat 𝐿𝐮𝐸𝐽𝐸 kathanchana dosho yadyapi tasya syat. Even if they are filled with all deficiencies, it doesn't matter. If they just approach me with a favorable disposition, mitra bhavena sampraptam, not with an evil intent, but with a good intent that I want to be redeemed, I want to be saved, right? Then I will not abandon them. This is the vow that Ramachandra kept, right? So such a person is a person who is suitable of approaching, right? So recognizing the nature of this, right? Even very great devatas like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma do not offer this unfailing protective power, because if we see several instances, right? In the case of Banasura tried to take shelter of Shiva, but he became very arrogant. Shiva himself warned him, saying, your arrogance will become your enemy. Someday, someone more powerful than you will come and he will destroy you. But Banasura did not heed. He thought that he had the protection of Shiva. But then eventually he got destroyed by Krishna. Similarly, Ravana, he also became very arrogant because he felt, I got, the khadga of Chandrasekhara himself, Lord Shiva himself. With that khadga, he even chopped off the wings of Jatayu. So he committed a Bhagavata Pachara also with that khadga. Finally, what happened? He got defeated in the hands of Rama, right? Durvasa Maharshi, he thought that he offended Ambarisha Maharaj. He went to every loka. Every loka abandoned him. They said, he even came to Brahma Loka. Brahma said, I cannot protect you. He even came to Shiva Loka. Shiva said, I also cannot protect you. Who do you think we all are? We are just taking birth under his order. We are doing whatever duties are assigned to us. If you are asking us to fight against him, we cannot do that. You please go to the same person whose weapon this is and surrender to him. He will protect you. In this way, Brahma and Shiva said. So Durvasa also could not get protection, right? Similarly, Brahmadeva also, he could not protect even himself when Madhu and Kaitaba, right, they stole the Vedas from Brahma. Right? Brahma approached Narayana. Even he could not do anything. Right? Similarly, the Devatas, they approached Brahma on various occasions with various problems like Hiranyakashipu, Ravana, the torture of these people, and Kamsa's torture and all these things. In all those cases, he couldn't offer protection. So it's not that these people are not truthful, like Shiva and Brahma and so on. Like Indra had been untruthful. He gave a promise and he went back on his promise. But Brahma and Shiva and so on, they are truthful, but they may not have the ability to offer unfailing protection under all circumstances. So therefore, all these devatas, the same devatas that we are talking about, they all approached and said that you are really the person that one should take shelter of, because you offer this unfailing protection under all circumstances. So this is the glory of the word Satya. I know we went slightly longer than usual, so we will end it here and we will start with a different term that describes Paratatva tomorrow. Om Haraye Namaha. Om Haraye Namaha. Om Haraye Namaha. Jai Sriman Narayana.
Yes, Sriman Swami. It was not you who made it, because it was a ride with the Leelas. So the Leelas could not be stopped because it was like clearly giving a video of Krishna Leela and as well as the Rama's episode, wonderfully covered. So today we covered the Rasa and Satya, right?
Yes.
So tomorrow will be Karana or Jyoti. Which one will be tomorrow?
We will start with Karana.
Karana? Okay. So a wonderful compilation and innumerable references for all of us to probably jot down and then keep them for using it for any wherever we wanted to use it. Thank you so much, Swami. Okay, we'll. I think the lines are already open. Anybody wants to share your views or talk to him? It will be really good, Andy.
Ask any questions also. If anybody has any questions also, if I'm able to.
Somebody sent a nice feedback yesterday. I think Swami probably might have read it. Yes, Narayana.
Yes, Sriman.
I think lines are open, right?
Yeah, they are open.
Any questions from anyone? Or
yeah. Manju, Ranganath uncle. Okay, so if everybody enjoyed it, let's
everybody is absorbed in Krishna.
Sorry, I just had a question, and you already answered about that golden Sita Matas as Gopikas, right? Those,
right?
Yeah.
But you already cleared it also in the same.
But I was thinking in the Vigraha form, do they exist anywhere? I mean, in this Kali Yuga, or it's like it's only during this Treta Yuga? Can we see those idols in the Kali Yuga also? No, I don't.
Those same idols, are they still available? Is that the question, or?
Yes, yeah. Yep. Is there any of them preserved?
I don't know if they're preserved or not.
Yeah.
It may even be hard to look.
In between, we had another yuga, right? So. Okay. Somebody is giving a comment here. Wonderful lecture, Swami. Okay, thank you. Okay, Andy. So we will enjoy the nectar in another dimension from Karana Tattva. We will do it. Thank you, Swami. We'll conclude it with our Mangala Shastra to Acharya. विशिष्टाद्वैत सिद्धांत प्रचारैक विहारिणे श्रीमन्नारायणाचार्य स्वामिने नित्य मंगलम यावत् प्रपंच संपूज्य चरणाय महात्मने श्रीमन्नारायणाचार्य राजाय मंगलम मंगलाशासन परैर्मदाचार्य पुरोगमैः सर्वैश्च पूर्वैराचार्यैः सत्कृतायास्तु मंगलम अस्मद्गुरुभ्यो नमः। जय श्रीमन्नारायण।
जय श्रीमन्नारायण।